Welcome back to Face the Nation. We continue our conversation now with Wisconsin Republican Senator Ron Johnson. Senator, was it a mistake for the president to say this week that he won't work with Democrats until they stop the investigations?
Well, my guess is he's just stating reality. It's going to be pretty hard to pass legislation when that's all the House is really doing. I warned voters ahead of the 2018 election that if you put Democrats in charge of the House, all you're going to be talking about is investigations, talk of impeachment, and it won't be about governing and creating greater prosperity for Americans. And that's kind of what we're seeing play out here. It's very unfortunate, particularly when you take a look at things like an emergency spending bill that we need for some of these disasters, that we need for getting the situation at the border under control. When you talk about the fact that we have to fix our horribly broken immigration system so we can stop or reduce this flow. I heard Beto O'Rourke saying, well, all we have to do is assign a case officer to every one of these families. Well, that'd be about 400,000 case officers or people that can handle 400,000 families this year alone. We don't have that kind of personnel. So the goal of our policy should be to reduce that flow. And in the House, they're just talking about impeachment investigations. It's very unfortunate.
Well, that kind of brings us back to the point of why this impasse could be so damaging. I want to ask you, though, about something the Trump administration decided to do. You sit on the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. Secretary Pompeo decided to essentially bypass the committee and go ahead with these sales of weapons to Saudi Arabia and other countries. Does this trouble you that this didn't go through the regular process here?
This just speaks to the ongoing tension between Congress's war authorizing powers and the president's powers, constitutional powers when it comes to foreign policy. Congress is pretty dysfunctional. It doesn't act very quickly. Sometimes the administration, which is why the founders very intelligently vested so much power in the presidency to act quickly in reaction to growing threats. And I agree with Congressman Hurd. The intelligence was certainly, from my standpoint, concerning. And I think the administration has handled this pretty well. They're doing everything they can to deter further aggression by Iran. And let's face it, Iran is the malign actor throughout the Middle East.
You and your committee. And that doesn't trouble you?
I wouldn't. No. Listen, I think they've notified the chairman and the ranking member of this. Okay. Congress often operates way too slowly to react to situations that we need to react to prevent war. And that is what this administration, I think, has done. They've deterred more malign actions on the part of Iran. I support the administration. Quickly,
I want to ask you about the president's tweet here. He's in Japan, and he, talking about war, said that Kim Jong-un's testing of these short-range missiles doesn't bother him, even though his national security advisor said it violates UN resolutions. It alienates the allies like Japan, who could be hit by some of these short-range missiles. And then he praised Kim for insulting Joe Biden. Is this appropriate?
Well, certainly North Korea is one of the real problems that we're having to deal with. And it certainly concerns me when they're doing any kind of testing. The fact that they haven't been testing, nuclear devices or longer range missiles is a good thing. This is a very difficult issue. Administrations on both sides of the political spectrum have tried to deal with this. President Trump trying to deal with it in a somewhat unorthodox style. I hope he succeeds.
All right. Senator Johnson, thank you for joining us. We want to